Live. Okay, I was going to say, I'm getting ready to start going for sponsorships for the show. So for all the women that have been on here, you know, you guys, it's very
nice.
Very exciting. Oh my gosh. All right, you guys. Hello. We are on episode 59, and that's crazy. Like 59 episodes blows my mind. Blows my mind every single time. Because at one point we were on episode 1 and now we're on episode 59. So, all right, you guys. So as you come in, say hey. As always, let us know where you are coming from. How are you feeling today? It is Tuesday. I wanted to say Wednesday for a second. It is Tuesday. And I don't know about y'all, but I've had a great weekend. So I hope everybody has had an amazing weekend as well. I hope your week is starting off phenomenally. But yes, as you come in, say hey. If you love this show a tremendous amount and you feel called to do so, please share this show so we can continue bringing, or I can continue bringing more amazing women to you, continue hearing these awesome stories. So without further ado, I would love to introduce my guest tonight after I do this epic intro. But my guest will be Amanda Mills-Goddard. So so thank you so much for being on the show, first and foremost, before I drop into this intro. You know, I'm always really honored that you guys decide to show up and share your story. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm excited.
All right. I'm going to drop into my intro. And as you guys come in again, say, hey, I can't say that enough. So hello and welcome to the TUF Woman Table, you guys. This is the table where I invite some super badass tough women like Amanda here to take a seat, join in on the conversation, and share her amazing story. And hers is amazing. I'm excited to hear this. So at TUF Woman, I believe that all women have the power within themselves to live life authentically, free from fear, confident in who they are, and empowered to go after that life, whatever that looks like to them. I share this belief by championing tough women who have walked through the fire, felt the fear, faced adversity, and kept pushing through it all. Women who now live the life they want as the woman they were created to be, and women who own their stories so that other women can embrace and own theirs as well. Because as I always say, when we own and share our story, we give someone else permission as well. So without further ado, you guys, episode 59. My guest tonight is virtual consultant Amanda Mills-Goddard. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about who she is, what she does, and she is a mother of 4, you guys. So just ignore all the mothers out there. This is like a powerhouse mom of 4. So without further ado, welcome to the show again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashley. So yes, my name is actually Amanda Goddard. The Mills is just, you know, I don't know if anybody did this, but, you know, on Facebook, you would kind of put your maiden name so you could still find people from like grade school. So that's why that's still there. But yes, I am the owner of VeraV Business Solutions. So, you know, I have a hell of a story, but, you know, VeraV Business Solutions is basically I assist women in building that consistency, managing their time, and showing up on social media, being visible. Because for one, you know, there's all these different marketing ways that we can, you know, really get our business visible online. But a lot of them are ad spend, right? A lot of them are websites and landing pages and all of these things, which is really confusing to start with. And it costs a lot of money. So why not use a free platform like Facebook, for example, or Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever, and really just be visible online? It's free, it's awesome, it's a lot of fun. So I help you get there. We optimize your profiles. We make sure that everybody knows what you're doing, who you are. You want them to know you. You want them to like you. You want them to trust you, because people really just buy with their emotions. So we're not going to go in and just be like, oh, I met this crazy person on the internet, I think I'll just throw $200 at them. No, we have to build these relationships, right? And this is something that took me a really long time to figure out. It really did. I will go into my story in just a second, but I was so lost. I was literally like, I was at the bottom and now I'm here. Not even kidding. So yeah, and not only that, but we make sure that you are on brand. You know, branding is more than just a cute logo. Branding is, you know, how you want your potential client or customer to feel, right? When they see your stuff, when they hear your voice, how are they feeling? Are they inclined to communicate with you? Are they inclined to tell others about you? Do they really like the way that you're sending your message out into the world? So branding is a whole ton of other things. So we kind of tie all of this in together. You know, we want to make sure that everything is all matchy-matchy and beautiful, and that you're really using your voice the way you want to, that you're showing up as your true self. Because let me tell you, if you're trying to be fake and you're trying to be professional in a way that doesn't come across as genuine, people are going to see right through that. They're going to see right through it. I learned that the hard way. I was creepy salesy on Facebook. I was that person that was like, you know, oh, you know, hey, you made this comment about how you're really struggling with, you know, your emails. I could totally help you with that. This is how much I charge. Why don't you contact me? And no one talked to me, guys. They were like, no. So, yeah, it's just really important, you know, and I really help you manage that time because, you know, it's super easy to stay busy, right? Like everybody's always like, I'm busy. Well, I'm so busy. I don't know what I'm doing with my day. I'm just busy, busy, busy. But it's interesting to understand, like, are you doing things that are serving you? Are you doing things that are moving the needle forward to help you grow in your business or help you grow personally? You know, so we could be doing busy things all day long, but are they really productive things? So this is what I kind of help you discover and figure out how to fit all of this into your day and still have time with, you know, your family or friends or whatever the case. And it took me a while, but I came up with all these really great tips and tricks and strategies in order to make my day work for me. Because my son, I was homeschooling him for preschool, and I was pregnant. And you know, I had two other kids that were in school, and they're all varying ages. My son is 15, my daughter's 11, and then I have a 5-year-old and a 16-month-old. So we literally have all the crazy stages. But you know, I really struggled to figure out, how am I going to do this all? Because I was responsible for taking care of these 4 kids first and foremost, right? But then I'm starting this new business, and I have dishes to do and laundry and making sure the house is clean and taking care of myself, because that's actually really important. And that's the number one thing that we tend to forget about, actually, is that daily self-care and just finding those little moments where you can put yourself first, you know, because what is that, you know, the oxygen mask analogy, you know, when you're on an airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the masks come down, always put yours on first, because if you pass out, put yours on first, because if it's like, if you pass out, you can't help somebody else breathe.
Absolutely, right? So we got to take care of ourselves first. And this is a key element that a lot of people forget about, or they kind of don't make a priority. So this is kind of where I come in, and we just manage it all. We manage it all. We will manage your daily and business schedule for the entire day. We will figure out how to make it work for you throughout the week. We talk about great things like batching. If you haven't heard of batching, it is a game changer. So batching is basically, you want to do like tasks all at the same time on a given day. So for example, I will take care of all my social media content on Mondays, and I do my finances on Fridays, for example. I do client calls Tuesday through Thursday. So it's just kind of gathering all those things that are like things, so that we can save the time and we can just knock it out and get it done, and we don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week. So that's another key element too that I talk about and I help people out with. Oh. So that's, yeah, it's a lot, but it's funny how it's all encompassing, right? Mm-hmm. And especially when you're just starting out, I mean, there's all these things swirling around in your head, and you really don't know how to make sense of any of them. You know, especially if you don't know what you're doing or where you're going, or maybe you don't have that confidence. I really struggled with confidence myself. You know, I didn't think I was good at anything. I knew I wanted to make money working from home, but that was it. That was all. Like, I started, like I said, from the bottom and had to figure this all out on my own. So I really enjoy teaching other people and giving them the knowledge that I have learned to make their lives a heck of a lot easier than what I went through.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of us, especially a lot of the women that I talk to that are coming into the space, they're really coming from the space of having learn. And Kelly says, "Hey, Ashley," and guest Amanda.
Hi, Kelly. I love how you spell your name. That's awesome.
Kelly's awesome too, because she owns a small business where she works with other small businesses to work with their tech and getting them set up for all their technological stuff within their business. So,
That's awesome.
I love that all the women that are coming into the space and everybody coming into the space, it seems, really are coming from a place of having gone through this stuff and learned it, and they're like, okay, I want to make people's lives easier now. And that's my favorite thing to see, especially with women, is going, okay, I want to build this brand that's going to help make other people's lives a million times easier.
Absolutely.
It's incredibly powerful. And Kelly says, hello. Oh my God. All right. So this is my favorite, like I always say, like, this is my favorite question, but really this is my favorite question. And this is the tipping point. So tell us the story behind, because you're like, I was at the bottom. So tell us the story of where you started to get to where you're at now.
Absolutely. So, oh gosh, it's a really long story, but I know we only have, like 40 minutes left. So we'll kind of break it down just a little bit. In the very beginning, I got married at 20 years old. My husband at the time was in the military. I had to get out of my house. I had my first at 21. So that's kind of where it started. And I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. It was just something that I wanted to do. I went to college for it. I took business courses. And like I said, I ended up getting married. So moved out of state for quite some time. And eventually my life took a different path. I ended up working with adults with developmental disabilities. And I realized that this was a passion of mine as well. So now I'm at a crossroads and I'm like, okay, what do I do? Do I continue with my business courses so that I can launch a business? But, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to be my own boss. So, long story short, I ended up working with adults with developmental disabilities. And that's, people who have cerebral palsy or Down syndrome or mental retardation or any other sort of intellectual disability. And I just absolutely loved it. I did it for 20 years. And fast forward until just a couple of years ago, I was 7 months pregnant. And had since divorced my ex-husband. And now I'm with my fiance, who is lovely. But 7 months pregnant, we just bought a new house together. We already had 3 kids in the books. And I got a new CEO at work, and I lost my job. So I was devastated. And, this is where the confidence really took a hard hit, because I applied for another position so that I can, laterally move over, but I didn't get it. Unfortunately, I didn't get it. And, the hormones, I'm sure, didn't help either, because I was so pregnant. But I ultimately had to make a decision. Do I work my butt off in a job that I no longer love in order to pay somebody else to watch my kids, or do I stay home with my children? So I decided to stay home. The job was done with. I left, and I got a little stir crazy. I am not the type of Susie homemaker, if you will. I could only do so much laundry every day, and those same tedious tasks over and over. And we're in the Chicagoland area, so it gets pretty stinking cold here for most of the year. And the option of going outside, was not an option. And we couldn't afford to constantly take the kids and do things every single day, nor did I have the sanity for that. So I got really stir crazy. And I started thinking well, what could I do? How could I work from home? And oh my gosh, did I scour the internet for months and months, because I didn't know I still didn't know what I wanted to do, and again, my confidence was low. I just lost my job, and I'm like, I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to help people with anything. And so, I found those awful data entry jobs. I found the survey ones where you literally get paid 5 cents per survey. And I'm like, oh, well, if I could do, so many surveys. But then, if you don't qualify, then you can't even do the stupid survey. It was a nightmare. There were some other options too. that I had come across, and we're not going to mention any business names because I don't want to get in trouble, but they weren't feasible. And so many moms and so many women, like they don't know where to turn or what to do. And then all of a sudden, oh, and scams, don't even get me started on scams, where those like, oh, I'll mail you a check for your office supplies, just deposit it into your account.
No, you got that. Okay.
It turns out that the banks don't catch it until later. So they let you, I didn't deposit any money. I was like, you know what? No, I don't know what I want to do with this check stuff, but it's a really common scam. So a lot of people will deposit these checks. The banks don't catch it right away. It clears, and then all of a sudden they have all your information and you're in like deep crap. So it's really scary. It's really scary.
And hold on before you go. Angela says, love Amanda's laugh.
Oh, thank you.
And Kelly says, exactly, you don't have to have the path completely clear with exact details. That's right. All you have to do is have a passion for wanting to be your own boss. And before we go forward, I think that's like what everybody starts out. I was like, I don't want to give 60 hours to somebody else anymore. I'm like, I'm just done doing
it. Yeah. And I needed that opportunity to be with my kids. I really did. Anyway, so I forget where I was at now. Where was I at?
Like confident you were going through the scams.
The scams, yes. So I was like, enough is enough. This is ridiculous. And I stumbled across a program, and it was called the Free Mama Movement. And I didn't even know what it was. I was like, okay, well, it sounds cool. Like, I want to be a free mama, you know? And I followed it for a really long time, and I let fear drive me. So I didn't post in the group or anything. I just kind of kept watching behind the scenes. And it turns out that this program teaches women like me to become a virtual assistant. And I was like, okay, I can try this. I can totally do this. Like, I got this. I can easily check people's emails and, you know, organize their calendars, easy peasy, until I started the actual program. And then I'm sitting there going, well, I know nothing about WordPress, and I don't even know what a landing page is. What the heck is a funnel? SEO, what? So lost. I can't even begin to describe to you how lost I was. So now I had gone from, okay, this is awesome, I can totally do this, to I'm a loser. I don't know how to do anything. Like, nobody's going to hire me. And then imposter syndrome kicked in, right? So I start comparing myself to others. And, you know, I'm the type of person that I don't want to try and help somebody if I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to do the whole fake it till you make it thing, you know, because I don't want to damage somebody else's business because of my lack of knowledge and experience. And so I really was at a low point. And I knew I wanted to make money. And I knew I could possibly do this, but I knew I had a lot of learning to do. And so I ended up purchasing a 12-week course, and I dove right in. I followed all the modules. I made sure that I was figuring out all these different techie things and figuring out what Infusionsoft was, or ClickFunnels, or, like I said, WordPress. It was hard. It was hard, but again, I just kind of figured out how to manage my time and how to fit those bits and pieces into the moments when my daughter was napping, or we would schedule school time, because again, I was homeschooling my son, who was 4 years old. And so we had that scheduled. And then it got to the point where I was losing track of time. And before I knew it, I got absolutely nothing done all day. I felt mom guilty, like, oh hell. And so then I started scheduling, okay, like, now we're going to schedule lunchtime, and we're going to schedule breakfast time. Before I knew it, I had literally every single minute of my day scheduled. But it helped me because I was able to build that routine. And now I teach everybody how important routines are. You know, it's kind of like when you're brushing your teeth. You don't think about when you're going to brush your teeth. You don't think about how you're going to brush your teeth. What do? You just go. So when we're building these routines into our lives, we start doing things on kind of autopilot. Just like we would automate any of our systems in our business, we want to automate our lives too. And I really think that's what a lot of people are after, because nowadays, you know, with the kids' activities and running the business and running the household and all the extra things, we got to figure out how to not only savor the moments, but figure out those bits and pieces that we can do things. So the more I did this, the more I realized how good I am at time management. And it's funny because I felt like such a jerk because I just emailed you the other day, Ashley, and I'm like, oh my God, you're on my calendar for tomorrow. And I did not respond to your email. And you have this beautifully set up email, you know, like here's what to expect. Here's your calendar. Here's your Google form you have to fill out. I just need a bio and a picture. And I didn't do it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm terrible. Like I'm supposed to be this person who's so organized and got everything together. And here I like totally spaced on it. Email is not my forte, I'll tell you that. Like I organize it a whole bunch of other different ways. When it comes to email, I'm that person that'll only check certain ones, and I have like 2,000 emails in my inbox right now. But you know, I guess it's important for you to even realize that we're all human, right? So, and sometimes we don't follow our own advice. So I may be able to talk about time management all day and making sure that you're putting your energies in the right place and you have the right mindset, and you know, you make sure that you're time blocking by scheduling that calendar and so forth. But you know, I make mistakes too, and I think it's really important that we all kind of express our own faults because we all fail, right? And we learn from our mistakes. And by being able to communicate this to people, it shows that I'm a real person. Like I'm not somebody who is out here to just take your money, or I don't care about your outcome. Like I really am super duper passionate about helping people. And, you know, going back to my story, it's really funny because, you know, I didn't have a why. Like my why for starting my business was, well, I need to make money. So unfortunately, I started out with that mindset. And as I had mentioned before, you know, I was being super creepy salesy on Facebook, and it wasn't good because all I kept thinking about was, I need to get my first client. I need to make money. I need to get money. Like, how am I going to get money? And it wasn't until I met a woman, her name is Stevie Marie, and she's the founder of the Redesigned Empire. And she totally rocked my world. So she had this amazing 12-week course that I signed up for, and it was $3,000 that I did not have. And I was convinced that this was going to fix everything until I started the course and realized that, well, this is all on me. Like it is what I put into it, unfortunately. So, yeah, I really struggled with, you know, mindset, and I had some personal stuff going on too at the same time. And so it took a lot of inner work in order to realize that, you know, I have to stop caring about what other people think. I have to make sure that I'm investing in myself, which is why I ultimately bought this course that I couldn't afford. And, you know, really just put the work in. Really put the work in. And before I knew it, I got my first client. It was somebody that I had talked to in the very early stages of my business. It was just a little bit of, you know, relationship building and networking, and she needed some design work done. And I was like, heck yeah, I can do this for you. And I created these awesome real estate packets for her membership course. And then I kind of rolled into, well, okay, like I really love design too. Awesome. So that's kind of where the design aspect came in. And I'm like, okay, well, now I'm kind of niching down a little bit, right? Because I had this huge long list of things that I could help people with. Like I said, it was email management and landing pages and, you know, calendar scheduling and PR work. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I think it was just, I wrote down everything I thought I could do and just was like, okay, I'm going to offer every service I possibly can to every single person. And like I said, the more I did that inner work, the more I realized like what my passions were and what I love to do. So I started niching down, and, you know, the design work, and then the time management, and then the social media. So I started my own group all about time management. I dove into Instagram. I figured out how to optimize my personal pages and my business pages and all the things. And, you know, the more you do it, the easier it gets, right? Mm-hmm. So I just kept working and working and trying to build a portfolio. And now I'm able to kind of bring it all together and help people become more visible and help people really follow their passions and be successful and have that work life, I guess you would say, balance that so many people think is unattainable, actually. Many times I've heard people say, work-life balance, there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. Well, it does exist if you plan ahead and you make sure that, you are setting your priorities straight, really, is what I found is the most important.
Yeah, especially the head part.
The what?
Especially the planning ahead part.
It's huge, though. Oh my God, it's so huge. And, I tell all of my group members, you should be planning the night before every single night. Every single night. So not only does it help you wind down and get a better night's sleep, because it's almost like you're shutting your brain down as if you were shutting down your computer. You're getting a good restart. But when you wake up in the morning and you have everything planned out and ready to go, you have your task list prioritized, you'll realize that you can just get up and get going. You're in that routine, okay, I have to check my task list, I have to check my calendar, and then I'm going to start working. And before you know it, you can actually get all of your stuff done by midday, and you have the rest of the day to do whatever you want. So planning is absolutely huge.
And so I have to ask in amongst this, because you have 4 kids, and first and foremost, I have to say, you really don't look like you're old enough to have a 15-year-old.
Thank you.
I think I can say that because most people say that to me, because mine is 14.
Mm-hmm.
It was always fun to find someone else I can say that to. You don't look like you're old enough. What was it like having, really balancing having your kids in the life and learning to build this business and amongst it? Because I know there's a ton of women out there, and that's a struggle for them.
So what was it like trying to figure out how to balance everything?
Yeah, how did that really come together, balancing all that?
So it started with me being extremely stressed out and overwhelmed to the point where I was crying, I can't do this. This is so hard. And, I was still in the learning phases of my business. So not only was I just trying to start it in general, but like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. So I had to pull all that self-development stuff in there too, and all that learning and reading and researching and all the things. And it got to, you always hear you don't make a change unless you hit rock bottom, right? So it got to the point where I was at rock bottom and I just couldn't do it. I'm like, I can't handle this. These kids are driving me crazy. I have a teenager, and let me tell you, the teenager is sometimes worse than the 1-year-old. they get worse as they get older. So I really had to set boundaries. I had to talk to my kids. I had to, like I said, time block that schedule. So, I told them, listen, you guys, this is a business. This is I'm at work. And so when I'm in my space and I'm working, you can't bother me. You guys are old. So the other ones were old enough to be able to understand this. And the little ones, again, I had to try and squeeze in when I was going to do work. Is it during nap time? So I tried getting the baby, she was a baby at the time, on a nap schedule. And so I would literally take my phone and it'd be like, okay, she's napping now. It's 9 a.m. Okay, she just woke up right now. It's 11 a.m. And I would track this every single day until I found a pattern. And I'm like, okay, well, she typically naps from 8:30 to, 10:30 or whatever the case was at the time. This is when I'm going to do my work. So it was finding the time to fit pieces in where they worked. And the only way to really do this was to write it all down. So, and not only was I able to figure out my time constraints and my time opportunities, but I was able to actually release a lot of the overwhelm and stress by simply writing things down. And this is why, counselors and therapists, even coaches, whomever, really say that journaling is so important. It's so important because studies have shown that just by releasing thoughts from your brain onto paper is literally releasing them from your body. and you can burn these negative thoughts, you can crumple them up and throw them away, but the act of releasing them from your brain to your hand, to the pen, to the paper, actually does you a service. So like I said, by being so overwhelmed and in such a bad place and just writing these things down and using a timer and tracking my time, it really kind of helped me move into that next space where I was building that routine and I could feel the overwhelm kind of releasing. And, you know, another thing is I really struggle with focusing. I'm sure the way I'm talking right now, I'm kind of all over the place, but I really struggle with focusing. It's always been something I've had a hard time with. Comprehension is another one. So I had to figure out different ways and methods in order to help me focus. So, you know, I'd start something, or, you know, let's say I start something on my computer and I look up and there's a ton of dishes in the sink. Or I look over and there's like toys all over the place, or I'm constantly thinking about things in the back of my mind. So what I figured out is that I would write down 5 tasks for my day. And like I said, I would plan this the night before. And I would start with task 1. And it typically you want it to be like the hardest thing, because otherwise that's the thing like you're procrastinating on, right? If you put it at the bottom of the list, you're probably not going to get it done. So you want to do the easy stuff first. But no, we have to do the hardest thing first. And by just telling yourself, no, I absolutely cannot move on to anything else until I've completed this first task. So making sure that like I really just, and I had to say these things out loud because just thinking in my head, it was just more things stuck in my head that were overwhelming me. So I would tell myself, no, Amanda, you're not going to do this until you finish this task. And so then you would move on to task 2. Again, you can't do anything else until it's completed. And before I knew it, I was completing like a whole lot of things throughout my day. And again, I was realizing that the overwhelm was kind of going away. So then I'm like, okay, well, what can I make my kids do that I don't want to do? I moved on to delegation. So, you know, again, like I had that conversation with them and I started assigning more chores. So, you know, there was dishes and there was peeling potatoes. I love using this example because I hate peeling potatoes. I think it's the worst. So now my daughter is the one that peels the potatoes in the house. But, you know, these are little tiny things that we don't realize take up a ton of time. And by delegating them to other people, whether it be family members or friends, or outsourcing to a virtual assistant, or, you know, I mean, for those that don't have time or know how to mow their lawn, what do? You hire a landscaping service, right? So it's all about outsourcing too. And the more I realized that I could like pawn things off on my kids and my family members, the more time I had for myself. And I was able to start like building that self-care in there too. So again, with the planning, it really just helped me feel good about myself. It helped me feel accomplished, and the fact that I was moving the needle and getting things done. So that's kind of why I like teaching other women about the time management, because, you know, it's totally possible to have everything that you want. It's totally possible to manage it with 4 kids. And it's just a matter of figuring out what works best for you and what works best for your family. And even for those that, you know, are working that 9 to 5, that corporate job, and then they're coming home and doing their side business. I actually work with people to help them figure out like how to manage those 2 things together too. You know, they may not have kids, but they have other obligations. So honestly, it's just really figuring out, you know, what you're passionate about and how you're going to make it happen. That's the hardest part, right? It's that goal setting, and it's breaking everything down into the little pieces and figuring out, you know, how to take it one step at a time.
I love it. I feel like you're kind of speaking to me at the moment. I'm like, oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, no, there's just pieces like with, I told you a little bit, but I'm going through like a rebranding, essentially, like really bringing my business into it. And there's a lot of those pieces that you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, I don't have any of that yet. So yeah, so it's always, hey, I always say the show is for like the one woman, and I swear to you, there are some episodes where I'm like the one woman. I'm like, oh my God, okay, all right. So it's always like, okay, well, what am I supposed to be learning from this? And it's like, yeah, you got to do your time better. So Yeah, everybody, like I'm horrible at time management, and I know that will not always be the case, but right now, yes, I am. It's awful. So moving forward, once you started really gaining traction in your business, how did that start looking like once you started coming over that hump of getting past the imposter syndrome, which I have to ask you this. So a lot of women, before we go into the next piece, struggle with the imposter syndrome. What was like the things that really helped you move through that?
It was definitely getting my first client. I'll tell you that, because there was that time frame, and it was about, I want to say 2 to 3 months where I wasn't getting clients, and it just seems like it seemed like it went on forever, you know, and each day that went by, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do this. This is terrible. Like, why doesn't anyone like me? Why am I not getting any clients? And eventually, you know, I got the first client, and it was just a matter of me kind of stepping outside of my comfort zone and fighting those fears. I was so afraid to go live. I was so afraid to even do a video to begin with. I was afraid to talk to people. I really didn't know what to say. I was never, like, my whole life, I was never really that great at small talk. So now when it came to like, oh, now you have to talk to strangers and tell them about your business, I was mortified. I had no idea what to say. And that's where like the creepy salesy stuff came in again, right? So I figured out that I needed to be able to serve people first, and then the money will come. So I stopped thinking about, oh my gosh, I need to make money. I need to make money. I have to make money for my family. I stopped thinking that way, and I said, you know what? No, I absolutely have to help people. That's really what I want to do. I want to help people. So I started showing up by just offering my advice. I didn't tell anybody what I did, what my business was, how I helped them. I didn't give any links, nothing. I literally just gave my advice and gave my help and support. And the more I did this, the more people started responding to me. And the more I realized, like, okay, maybe people do kind of like me. You know, and then I was like really professional in my approach with things. And, you know, it was other coaches and different things that I saw from my competitors and so forth that, you know, they said, don't care what other people think about you. Why are you letting it bother you? There's a ton of people that are going to love you, and there's a ton of people that aren't going to like you or may even hate you. And let me tell you, I've come across some of those people, and they've left my group. They've unfollowed me, or I got blocked maybe once or twice. But those weren't my ideal clients. And I have to just keep telling myself that that's not my audience, and that's okay. Not everyone's going to like me. So I stopped caring. I stopped caring what people were going to think about me. I stopped caring whether or not I cursed on my videos or in my group or anywhere else for that matter. And I just started showing up as myself. And the more I showed up as myself, the more I loved myself, the more confident I became, and the more easily I was able to talk to people. And so it all kind of started coming together, and I started getting referrals, and I started building my group about time management, and I started showing up in there authentically. Because like I said in the very beginning of this video, that, you know, if you don't show up genuinely, people are going to see right through that, and they're going to pass you on by and go to the next person. And it just took me all of that experience and having to go down that icky, messy path in order to figure out and realize, like, I just need to be me. That's it. That's all. I just need to be me. And people will respond to that, or they won't. But for those that respond, I've been able to build a really great client base just by networking and showing up and being myself.
So how did things start looking when they started moving forward and you started turning, you know, going into that next phase of your business?
What do you mean? How did they start looking?
Like, how did you like, you've talked a lot I guess you've talked a lot about it. So this is like a reiteration of it. So what started happening once you started getting onto that next part of your business, like really niching down and understanding like that was what you were supposed to do? Like, how did that manifest within your business as far as like clientele? How did you start, you know, how did things start showing up for you in your business?
Things just started accelerating. They did. You know, because I was following my passion, I was able to niche down. I was more clear with my client base on what I was offering them, because I was so confused myself. Like, of course, everybody else that I'm talking to is going to be confused. They didn't know what the heck I was doing, or anything. So, again, like, people just started referring others to me. People started giving me good reviews. People started asking me, for more help in other things, or, well, I have this job for you. I really want you to do these packets for me, these design packets. And then next thing I know, this person's reaching out to me 2 months later, and they want full social media management services. So again, the more people that kept coming in, and the more, I guess, I felt like I was liked almost, even though I said I didn't care. We all kind of care, right? We care about how many likes we're getting on our posts, and we care about how many people show up to our videos. We may say that we don't, but we do. It feels good, right? That's the whole thing with social media. So it just made me feel great. And then I started doing money manifestation. So I realized that I probably had some money blocks, and I started forgiving myself for past my mistakes. I started being more grateful for the abundance that was coming into my life. And I was always kind of afraid to talk about money. So, I would go into these groups, and, some of the coaches would be like, what's your money goal for this month? And I was so embarrassed to say what it was. And eventually I'm like, oh, my money goal is $1,000 for this month. And my money goal is $4,000 this time around. And by just saying that in the groups and really just starting to talk about money, I realized the more I paid attention to it, the more I talked about it, the more comfortable I became with money, the more it started kind of flowing in. And then the more money that flowed in, the better I felt, and the more eager I felt, and the more motivated I was to reach out to more people and help more people and just be of service. And then the more of service that I was, the more money that came in, and the more clients that came in. And it all started, building up, and it was exhilarating. And so now it's kind of like I'm chasing that high, right? Like, I want more of it. So I think, once you start creating a strategy and really just writing down those goals and figuring out how you're going to implement them and what steps you need to take, how you're going to manifest things, it's really going to kind of help you push to that next level. And that's why so many business owners, you kind of get to a plateau, right? Like, okay, I did really great. I built this thing up, and I'm at this awesome spot, but I can't get past this spot now. I'm at that plateau. And that's kind of where coaches come in, is they're going to help push you and help you figure out what blocks you have. Maybe you have some of your own limiting beliefs, and you really need to get past those things and really work on that mindset and make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do, and you're loving yourself in every way that you need to in order to get up to that next level, because then the momentum's going to get going, right? And once you get that momentum, we're building adrenaline, and our heart's pumping, and we're excited, and those endorphins are releasing, and then that motivation keeps going up and up, and that's how we climb those stairs, if you will, up to the next level.
And I like that you talked about money mindset a little bit, because I know that that's something that's really huge right now. And Kay says hello, Kay.
Hey, lovely.
But you touched on being grateful for your money, and I don't know if you listen to anything on Mind Valley. Like, I catch some of their master classes sometimes, so they do a lot of mindset stuff. And they brought this gentleman on, and he's like, not the Warren Buffett of Japan, but I don't know, he's like up in that level. He's very, very high up. So he talked about this, of course they pivot as like this special technique, and you have to watch it. And it was nothing harder than just being grateful for your money every single time. Like going into your bank account, saying thank you to your money. Every time you spend it, saying thank you to your money. And I was like, well, that's like incredibly simple. Like, it can't be that easy. And that was something that I started adding. And I've noticed that a lot of what mindset that I used to have around money has shifted just from being able to show up and be like, oh, okay, well, thank you. Like, thank you for paying my bills. Like, thank you for being there.
Yeah.
Bills. Like, that's such a strange thing. Someone's like, that's such a strange thing to be thankful for. But it's like, Well, I've been in a space where I couldn't pay my bills. Like, I'm really thankful that I have this to pay the bills. Like, yeah, nobody wants to give their money to bills, but thank God you have it and you're not behind, or
Yeah.
what you do.
And it's crazy too, because, you don't have to answer this, but if I were to ask you right now, what's in your bank account at this very moment, could you shout out a number?
Yeah, I could actually.
That's good. But a lot of people can't. And I couldn't. I had no idea. I wasn't tracking my money daily. I wasn't paying attention to it, even my business expenses, because there was so much fear that surrounded money that I just didn't want to deal with it. It was kind of like, I'm just going to ignore it until I have to deal with it, and hopefully it'll go away. And sure enough, what happened? Money went away, right? But none came coming in. Or even, a lot of times I'll tell people, look at your bank account and look at the number and how does that make you feel? So if it's a really high number, cool, awesome, just keep going, right? But if it's a low number, don't let it make you feel like crap. There's been times where I've gone negative in my bank account. There's been times where I've had $2 in there. There's been times where I've had, $2,000 in there, whatever the case, or $20,000 even. But you always have to feel good no matter what's in there, because money will always come to you if you want money to come to you.
I love it. So looking back on the journey, what do you think were some of the things that you really took out of it? Like, what are some of the things that you felt were the greatest lessons you learned from it?
I wrote that down in my questionnaire. I can't remember what it was now. I will say one of the biggest lessons is that I just need to believe in myself. I need to invest in myself. And, that's what it's all about. It's all about following your passions. It's all about planning ahead. I have to throw planning in there, because let me tell you that literally changed my life, is the planning part of it. Because without being able to organize my thoughts, I didn't know what direction I was going. So how am I supposed to write down goals and try and implement them if I don't even know what direction I'm going? So planning, again, is a huge one. And I didn't plan my business ahead of time. I was just like, I'm going to start a business today. There was no business plan. There was no strategy. I just decided to start a business and went for it. And, it's funny too, because I thought, and I'm a recovering perfectionist myself. So I thought that everything had to be perfect in the beginning, and it doesn't. It absolutely does not. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be completed right away. I had a client of mine who's a coach. She tells her clients all the time, like, you're going to do a course. Let's say you're doing a 12-week course. You don't have to have all 12 weeks done before you move on to getting clients to purchase this course. Get week 1 done and start selling. Like, what are you waiting for? So it was, really realizing that I shouldn't have tried to make everything perfect. I didn't have to finish my website before I started reaching out to clients, or even finish the course I was taking. I just kept waiting for everything to be right, when really, like, the key is to just start. So I think that's, the biggest takeaway was planning and just starting. Just do it already. Like, what are you waiting for? So yeah, those are probably the biggest ones.
And so I have to ask you, if someone was to come up to you and say, looking back on your journey, is there 3 pieces of advice you can give me? Would those be the things that you would give them? Because that's kind of like the questions I always ask. And the lesson one was a new question that I had. It's like, what lessons were the biggest takeaways for you? But if it was to turn around and someone was to ask you for advice, what is the 3 biggest pieces of advice you would give them going through something similar?
I would definitely say number 1 is ask for help. Ask for help, because you may think you can do it by yourself. You think you can do it alone, and I'm not saying you can't, because I want people to feel empowered, but you're not an expert at everything, right? That's why other business owners and entrepreneurs like myself and like you, that's why we exist, because everybody's an expert in their own area. So for example, I really suck at email sequences. So I outsource email sequences, to make sure that that part's taken care of. And, if you don't know how to do something, don't be afraid to go ask online for help. You don't have to go into one of those crazy giant groups that's intimidating, or one of those online forums, like just look for a couple of groups and go in there and say, hey, I have this question. Anyone willing to help me? 9 times out of 10, you're going to get an answer. If you didn't get an answer, you probably just need to engage in the group a little bit more for the algorithm, and then you'll get an answer if you ask again. But, you know, don't be discouraged if people don't answer you right away too, because, you know, the way social media works is the more you engage, the more you give, the more you get, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, ask for help, because it's out there, that it's in our nature to want to help each other, right? So, yeah, ask for help. And then what was that number? I forget what I said now. That was number 1, right? You told me 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 1 is ask for help. Number 2 is be grateful. Be grateful every single day. Be grateful for what you've accomplished. 1% progress is 365% progress in a year. So even if you're moving the needle just a little bit each day, be grateful and be happy that you're moving forward, right? Be grateful, again, for what you have. Be grateful for your money, and really just pushing those positive vibes out there so that you can receive abundance back. And then finally, the third thing is learn. Learn. So I learned by doing research. I learned by reading books. I learned by watching videos, doing things like this, because, you know, like I pay attention to what people are responding and what we're talking about and what kind of questions you're asking. And, you know, just throw yourself out there and just try new things and work on self-development every single day. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not asking you to read like a really long book in one day. No, like just do a little bit of something every single day and just keep learning, because knowledge is power. And the more you learn, the more powerful and motivated you're going to feel, and the more you're going to accelerate.
Amen to that. Amen.
Yes.
Angela says, totally agree. Planning is key, especially for some. I need structure and planning. You know what? I agree with you on that. I need structure and planning as well. And I also need someone to sit behind me and poke me and go, listen, stay on task. Because I'm so, I don't even know what the word for it is, but like you talked about focus is not my strong suit either. Like I literally, if my phone is anywhere near me, that's not.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it has to do not disturb, and I have to throw it behind my bed. Otherwise, I'm going to be like, oh, let's just check this for a moment. The next thing you know, 20 minutes has gone by, and I'm like, oh my God.
Well, even if like you hear the ding of like a notification, even if you don't check it, you don't even realize it, but it's constantly running in your head, right? It's like an addiction. Like, I have to check my phone. I have to check my phone. And you're like, no, I have to sit here and do this, but you're still thinking about checking your phone. So yeah, it's definitely a psychological thing. And, you know, speaking of focus, I'm doing a really cool 12-week focus series in my group. So every single Friday is Focus Friday, and I'll give pieces of information on how to maintain a focus and how to kind of combat some of those issues that you're having with focus. And a lot of this is research based on those who have attention deficit disorder. And so these are really cool key pieces in order to figure out how to work with your brain chemistry in order to maintain a focus better and be more productive. So one really cool example is create a parking lot for your thoughts. You know, I went over this last week. Or, you know, like I said, creating lists is a huge one too. So I would love for anyone, you know, I know you said I could drop my links below in the comments. So I'd love for you guys to check out the group. All of this is free info. I have units in there that you guys can check out for free. And there's a Trello training in there too. So you can learn how to organize your entire life online, which is amazing. And it's on my phone too.
Because I'm probably going to be going over there. You know, I'm actually getting ready to, I went and looked in my groups thing yesterday. I was like, oh my God, there's so many, you know, you just join groups in the beginning. And I'm like, I'm not doing any of these. So someone told me, they're like, go through all your groups and condense it down to 5 to 10 that you actually want to engage in. And that's it. Like literally get rid of every single thing else. I'm like, oh, you know, that sounds like a really fantastic idea.
You know, it's funny too, because I'll like meet new people and they'll be like, oh, join my group. Absolutely, I'll join your group. And before I know it, I'm in like 100 groups.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I don't even know why I'm here anymore. It's like, or my favorite is the ones that get archived, and because you were never like in it, you're like, oh, I didn't even realize this group ended.
Right, like 5 months ago.
Oh, okay. All right, but yes, we are on the end of it, the last tale. Like these shows always go by so quickly. So, tell everybody where they can find you, how they can interact with you, group, and all that other stuff, and then we are going to wrap everything up.
Sounds great. Okay, so I am on Instagram. Handle is Vera_VIE_biz. And I'm also on Facebook. So I have a Facebook business page as well as a Facebook group, which is called Free Your Time with Amanda. And I will go ahead, I'll drop those links in, like I said, in the comments. I also can be found on my website at veravirtualassistant.com. And there'll be options to join, you know, my group and so forth on there as well. You can see my design portfolio. You can learn all about me on there. And yeah, that's it.
That is so exciting. Thank you so much for being on. Like, really, I feel like I've learned a lot. And I'm really
appreciate it.
I'm really excited because we didn't actually get a chance to really connect much before this. So, you know, when that happens, I'm always like, man, I wonder how this show's gonna go. Like, but
I know, and I'm so sorry. I feel terrible. I'm like, oh my God, should I reschedule? Like, I don't want to ditch out on her the night before.
No, it's okay. It's mine too, because I used to be that I had that time to talk to all the women, and especially in the beginning, it was very important because the show was so new and nobody had no idea who I was or what I was doing.
Sure.
But now it's like anytime, and actually, and I'll say this before we get off here, I'm getting ready to open up more show slots. And it got to the point where when I was like, okay, I'll talk to everybody beforehand, I was literally going for weeks just pre-interviewing people. And I'm like,
I'm sure, yeah.
Telling me everything. And I'm like, no, just save it for the show, please. Don't tell me now. So yeah, it was a really, like, I always get joy when, you know, I get to talk to everybody beforehand, but at the same time, it's always nice because then it's like, I meet you or I meet another woman and I'm like, man, I'm really happy you're in my network because you have strengths that I don't have. Like, you're like, I'm just sitting here going like, I am uber impressed because I would love to do all of that right now because that would probably make my life a million times easier at this point, you know, because I'm just such a glutton for punishment. I'm like, I still, I'll tell you guys, I'll give you a struggle that I'm in. I'm still in that struggle of like, I want to post on the fly, you know, I want to be in the flow. And it's like, you can't doing that. You have to stop. Like, you have to stop doing that. Like, you can.
You know what? One really quick tip. You know what I do? Because I want to do the same thing, right? Like, this is how I'm feeling and I want everyone to know about it. I will actually put it in my Trello board. So before I know it, I have an entire month's worth of content that I can schedule out for later based on my feelings.
Damn. See, look, you guys, learning. See, that's what I'm saying. We learn stuff. Yeah, please feel free to drop your links. I definitely would love to join your group, you guys. I'm going to be the first person that time management is horrific for me, but that is not going to be the case because I am really like focused on re-gearing that. For anybody, when you come up against something too, I'm gonna put a tip on that. And you're like, oh, I'm horrible at that. Reframe it to look like, you know what, I don't do so well at that right now, but how can I make myself better in that area? So again, whether that means outsourcing it, like, okay, that's not something that I want to do at all, or just going, okay, well, how can I be better? It's always like, you know what, I know that my time management is not great, but that means that I can get better at it. So always choose to reframe it into something better. Like you said, going back to just putting positivity behind something, even if it's not like the most positive thought in the world, how can you make it more positively charged? So,
yeah, and seek help. Absolutely. Yes.
So you guys, my call to action to you tonight is I am opening the show up months out. I'm taking people, any woman who wants to come on here and share their story. I really had a lot of revelations this weekend about how this show would become. And I really realized that like you said, helping people, I wanted to give women a space to really share their story. Like, what is your story? And you know, this show has always been about what is the story behind how you got where you're at in business, because I really wanted to encourage other women to do the same. But the thing that I've realized in 59 episodes is how important it is just to share your story in general. Like whatever story that is, what is it? And it is important. So for any woman out there that catches this and wants to share her story, there is a link to click in the bio in the descriptor of this to set up your table episode. I welcome all women to come in. So if you know any women who would love to do this,
yeah, absolutely.
Please come on, send them my way, and we will get a show, and they will be on YouTube and Facebook, and one day the whole world is going to see them because I'm going to do something with this show. So just know that, you guys. So for anyone who wants to be on the TUF Woman Table, please reach out, DM me, click the link in the bio. You don't even have to talk to me ahead of time. We can just get on here the day of the show.
Like we did.
You know what? It's always good, you guys. It's always good. Each show is beautiful in its own place. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for being on. Thank you, Amanda, so much for giving me some of your time. This has been like...
Oh, thank you.
And I hope it's not massively cold where you're at.
No, we're actually in the 50s this week, so that's good.
Yeah. Weird weather. All right, you guys. As always, I will see you guys Thursday for another amazing episode. We have another amazing woman coming on, so I'm really excited. All right. And yes, see you guys Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Bye, y'all.